Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so just to recap, I'm going to hit the Redshift layout. So what we've done now is we've got the basic model. So what we need to do next is make these buttons, these two buttons on the back. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to hit F5 just to get a bit of perspective as to where everything's at. So I'm just going to go into the front view, zoom right in. So we want to create this hole and this button. The way we're going to do that is we're going to create a square or a rectangle around this hole, the same thing with the button, and then we're going to bevel in the corners of that rectangle. So let me explain that by doing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and now I'm just going to create a line, the bottom part of that hole, and I'm going to do it right above it as well. I'm going to do the same thing for the button and there. Excellent. Okay, so let me remove the subdivision surface so I can see what's going on here a little bit clearer. Okay, great. We also got a line here that's very close but isn't quite lining up with the edges of the hole in the button. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another line. So right next to it as such. Excellent. Okay, great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the points that define the edges of the hole. So we're going to focus on the hole here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight them like so. Right, so we should have 4 selected. And I'm just going to hit visible only. So we're not highlighting any points at the back. So let me just get out of this view and make sure that I'm not highlighting anything but these 4 points. Okay, so we can see that from this angle. So we've got the 4 points highlighted. Excellent. Right, and let's go to F5. So you can see from the top angle that we are dead bang in the middle, and there's only 4 points highlighted. So let's go back to the front view. It's very important that you know if you're going to highlight points, that your visibility only or visibility only off or on is correct. Otherwise, you end up collecting more points than you want, and then you end up ruining the model. And then only afterwards you find out that, oh, you've actually pulled in the wrong point and it's deformed the model. So just keep tabs on that. So you've got 4 points here. And visibility is only on at the moment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bevel tool, and whilst my points are highlighted, and just click and drag left mouse button, which will help me define that particular hole. You can see how it's kind of defining the shape a little bit, which is great. Next to what I want to do is I want to go to the brush selection and also to the polygons mode, and I'm going to click it like such. And now I'm going to basically do a inset for this particular bit. So I'm just going to create another line around this existing line. That's going to help me give me that nice smooth edge. So I'm just going to left mouse button click and just pull it in. I'm going to do it once, and then I'm going to do it the second time. So let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. So that was the original edge. This was the second one, and this is a third one. So we've got 3 of them right now here. Okay, great. So now I'm going to click the subdivision surface model, and that's what we've just done. Let me go to the perspective view. Okay, and let's go in to the model. Okay, let's press play. Okay, so there's nothing happening here just yet. So what I want to do is remove the subdivision surface for the time being. Click polygon, and just do keeping the control button on, just pull it into the model. Now you can see here how it's created this gap. So I'm going to hit subdivision surface to see what happens. Okay, it's still good. Okay, great. But what we need to do now is make sure that this goes all the way in, so it gives you that dark look as if it's going into the to the body of the speaker. So let me just remove the subdivision surface and let's undo that. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to do another inset for this one. So let me do another inset. And this one's going to be really narrow. Okay, I'll explain that in a little bit. So now I'm going to hit the brush. I'm going to select everything like so. So all the inner ones, including the one at the back. And I'm going to basically drag that inwards. Oops. Let's try that again. Okay. It's done it on an angle, so we definitely don't want that. Let me try that again. Okay. Like so. Okay, great. And now I'm also going to turn on the subdivision so you can see what's going on here. And now I'm going to grab, turn it off again and grab only the inner one, the one that we just created, and I'm going to pull it inwards. So keep the control button on and just pull it inwards like so. So that's going to give you that little insert. So that's where the so when you put the USB inside, you're going to have that little nudge there. Okay. Now, because there's so much light, it looks like that. But what I'm going to do is also I'm going to remove the subdivision surface, and I'm going to grab these outer ones and I'm going to pull them out behind a little bit more. Oh, okay, let's try that again. Okay, and I'm just going to drag that further behind like so. Okay, now subdivision surface goes off, and so there you go. Okay, so now I should have the hole that we're after. Okay, and that should be good enough. Excellent. Okay, so next it's about the button at the top. So let's go to the front view again. There it is, and there's the button at the top. So let me remove the subdivision surface from that one. Now let's click all the buttons that are associated with the corners of this one here, like that. So visibility only is selected, so we should only have 4 selected. So let's go to F1, check points 4 selected, that's good. Let's go back to F4, which is the front view. And now we're going to go back to the bevel and do the same thing as we did previously. Excellent. Go straight to polygon, click the item in the middle, and we're going to now do the inset for this part. So click anywhere and just drag it in. So let's do one and do a second one. Okay, so now if I zoom in, I should actually have, oh, that's the front view. Let me go back to the perspective view. Okay, excellent. So now you can see I've got 2 bevels happening all at the same time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to the brush selection, grab the blue line and keep the control button on and just extrude outwards a little bit, not too much. Hit the subdivision surface and have a look how that looks like. It's a little bit too smooth, so we want to basically round the edges up a little bit. So whilst I still got that edge selected, right? I'm going to go and select it again, UL. There we go. So select it. I'm going to keep the subdivision surface on so I can actually see by how much I'm actually going to be straightening the edge out. I'm going to go to the move button, and I'm going to keep the control button on while I'm pulling inwards the blue arrow. That way I'm creating a second edge. So notice how it's coming across like that. So it's really sharp, but that's exactly what we want right now. Excellent. So now that's how that looks like. However, it looks like as if it's a piece of geometry on top of another piece of geometry. It doesn't look like a button. So what we need to do is create an insert or an indentation around the button. And we can achieve that by first removing the subdivision surface so we can see the edges. And what we're going to do is we are going to create another edge around this using bevel again. So let's go back to bevel and create another one. Excellent. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select the inner one, do a UL, and move that inner one into the actual model itself. So let's just grab that and just pull it in. Oop. There. Click subdivision surface and let's have a look how that looks like. Okay, subdivision on. So we've got a bit of shadow there, which gives it the look as if it's actually a button you can press. We might want to be able to maybe do it a little bit more, so that it looks a little bit more obvious that it is actually a button. So we can do that by selecting another one of those lines right next to it. Select, move button, and drag it in a little bit. There we go. Subdivision is on. Okay, let's have a look. Now notice how it's deforming the bits and pieces around it, right? And it's creating this shadow at the top, right? So that's not right. So we need to basically back out of that. Control Z. Okay, so we don't want to break that line. See, that line was being broken. So we want to keep that line there. Oop, sorry. And not touch the top line, but actually go a little bit inner. So let's just go with that line. Because we created two bevels really close to one another, which was not a good idea, but it can still work with that. So let's just grab that for the time being and then just drag it in. There we go. And excellent. So now we haven't deformed the top part at all. So the top part stayed there where it is. And the bottom part seems to be fine. Everything's fine there. So now what we can do is clean up the model a little bit by removing some of these points, right? So therefore that will basically remove some of this chatter that we've got here, right? So we can do that now. So what we want to do is all the points that we don't use, we're just going to basically weld them together. So go to the rectangle, say, click the points, visibility only on is good. So we want to basically maybe grab these 3 points and maybe this one, weld them together so they're all into, say, that one. So we've got that nice line there, and we can do the same thing over here. So we've got these 3 points and that one, and we're going to weld it into that one. Okay, Let's make sure that we're not breaking the model as we're doing this. Good. So it's removed some of the chatter, right? And what we can do is do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Now we've got 2 points here that we don't need. So let's just grab them and just holding shift, delete. We've got 1 point here for no reason whatsoever. So let's remove that point. That could be as a consequence of some of the residue. So we've got some points again up here that we do not need. Control shift and there. And let's turn on subdivision, making sure that we're not breaking anything in the process. Okay, good. And that can remain the way it is. And then we're just going to go over here for the button as well. So we're just going to select some of these points and weld them together. Okay, notice how also we've got a bit of a lip happening here at the top and at the bottom. So the best way to do that is basically create a cut across to redefine and reinforce that edge. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can do that by simply selecting the knife or the line cut tool, like so, and click a point here on the left, drag it and click a point here on the right. Hit escape. And we can do the same thing down the bottom here as well. Escape. Now let's just make sure the integrity of our points is correct. We should get 1 point here. Yep. 2 points if I stretch it out. 1 point here. Good. Now let's have a look. Yep, so that lip is gone now, so we don't have that lip anymore. And also this button here is a little bit less busy, which is what we're after and what we want. So there's no bendage of geometry. The geometry is still very good. So zooming out a little bit, see on the right hand side, you can see that the model's starting to look good. So I'm just going to back out a little bit more and just do a bit of a recap. So we've got the top part here. As you can see here, it's nicely edged. We've got the indentation down the bottom. We've got the hole, and we have the button as well. And down the bottom here, again, the same things, is to create the top buttons here. I promised that before in the previous lecture, but yeah, we need to do that now. So now that we've done this part, we'll do that, and next after that we'll add the mesh, which is this part here. See on the speaker. So we're going to try to go for that look, and then we're going to add letters and a few other holes here to basically add some lights, etc. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Bye for now.